Hello boys and girls, I'm Mike, and today I'm going to talk to you about taking care of your cue with a little nod towards my cue care kit, where I put a few bits and pieces together to help you look after your cue. First of all, let's start with the basics. Number one, if you want your cue to be always feeling smooth when you're playing, keep your hands clean. Take the time to go and wash your hands, because any sweat, grease, grime on your hands is going to transfer to the shaft or the butt, but particularly the shaft. And when you go to cue your shot, it's just going to be sticky. Okay, wash your hands. Right, now hold on 1 second. Ta-da! Right, this is my new cue care kit. It's got some essential bits really to number one, keep your cue nice and smooth, but also if you need to sort of refinish a cue, need to strip it back a little bit, there's some bits in here that are going to help you out. So let's show you what's in it. First of all, I can't open it. Shit. Didn't stick that well earlier. Right. Let's put it up there. Okay. Let's see. First of all, there's nothing wrong with your cue. You just want to keep it smooth. So you wash your hands. To keep your cue clean, just take a damp cloth, not a wet, dripping wet cloth, just lightly damp. Take a damp cloth, rub it down your cue, and then dry it with a dry cloth, something like this. It's a very soft cloth. Obviously this is my cue towel, but you can use anything soft, and immediately dry that cue off. Now if you do that, I guarantee you your cue will always be smooth. You don't need to refinish it, it's fine. You don't need to do anything else. So if you're on top of your game of looking after your cue, that's all you need to do every day. Right, so that's the first thing. The second thing in the kit is cue oil. I don't know if you can see that. Cue oil, or many other types of oil, are great for your cue. You should just put it on every now and then. It helps to feed the wood, it helps to protect it. It's a really good thing for snooker and pool cues. Moving on, we have two. Number one, number two. This is steel wool. Number two is an ultra fine one. Number one is sort of a medium one. So what do we use them for? If your cues become particularly dirty, and just giving it a wipe down with a damp cloth doesn't really help, then you probably want to give it a little bit of a sort of refinish, strip it down a little bit. The first thing you do is you take a paper towel or something, like a cloth, and you use white spirit. Not methylated spirits, white spirit. Okay, it's the basic stuff you get from any hardware place in the UK, like B&Q, Home Base, you know, white spirit. It won't hurt any finish you've got on your cue, but it will strip off any grease and grime and dirt. So get your paper towel, put white spirit on it, do the same thing as when you're wiping it with a damp cloth, just rub it up and down. Okay, when you've done that, and the white spirit is not completely dry, it's still on the cue, take the number one steel wool. This one's got a little bit of abrasion to it, but it's fine. It will just take anything, any stubborn, greasy whatever off the cue. So you take that number one, you rub it all down the cue, that's that done. Then what you would do is you would apply the cue oil. Actually, no, I've missed out a bit. When you've cleaned off your cue, you might find some sort of little dents and stuff which you want to sort out. Now, without doing too much sort of deep sanding, you're not going to hurt the cue by using some fine sandpaper over the areas you're not very happy with. So also in this kit, let me see. I've included some of this stuff, which is a cloth-backed, very fine aluminium oxide paper, which is not really going to scratch your cue much, but it is okay to use that to rub up and down areas which you like to try and make feel a little bit better. Preferably you would use this over the whole cue. You don't want to just work on one area, because maybe you might sort of leave a patch. But that's what that's for. It's also for something else, but I'll come back to that. Yeah, so you've used your number 1 steel wool. You've used your very fine sandpaper just to take off any little bits. So that's when you get your cue oil out. Slap that on, put plenty on. I use, let me see if I've got one around, just cotton wool. There. Ta-da! Just like a cotton wool ball. Pour your cue oil on that and sort of give it a good old rub into the grain. Put plenty on. You know, have it sort of dripping wet if you want. Leave it for half hour. You know, give the oil a chance to soak in where it needs to soak in, and then you're just going to take a paper towel or a cloth you don't mind getting dirty, and then you wipe off the excess. Once you've wiped off the excess oil, you then put the cue away for the day. Leave it till the next day. Let that oil dry completely. If you don't let it go off properly, it's just a waste of time, because you're just in the next process you're just taking it off. Okay, so we zoom forward like 24 hours, and you got your cue back out, and it feels maybe a little bit sticky. That will be the residue, the oil on the surface. It might be sort of a little bit bitty. So that's when we have our number 2. Yes, have our number 2. This is the ultra fine steel wool. This will not scratch the cue at all. This just puts a polish on it. In fact, this stuff is pretty much like pretty much a secret to getting the best finish on any cue, because it just polishes the wood. It doesn't scratch it just polishes it. So use that number 2 again, rub up and down the cue, and you've got a lovely smooth finish. Okay, so that's how you keep a cue clean, or how you refinish a cue. Number 1, you wash your hands. Number 2, you wipe your cue with a damp cloth and dry it with a dry cloth. Number 3, if you need to do more work, you will use some white spirit to clean it down. You'll use the rougher steel wool to take off any sort of dirt that's on the shaft. You'll use a very fine sandpaper if there's areas which you want to try to make feel sort of less bumpy. You've got to be careful there. I don't want you to try to do too much with dents in wood, because if you work too much on one area, you make things worse. So what I'm saying there, that ultra fine aluminium oxide paper is only for just some surface tidying up, really. Yeah, so that's that. Then you put your oil on and you finish with that ultra fine steel wool. Puts a brilliant finish on it. Great stuff. Okay, the last thing in my cue care kit is another sandpaper. This one, which is a fairly rough sandpaper. It's a 120, and a Q-tip. In this case, it's my super tip. So you've got everything you need to keep your cue in good condition. You've got instructions on how to keep it clean. You've got instructions on how to refinish it. You got a tip there. I'll tell you how to put the tip on. Actually, no, I won't, because there is a re-tipping video. But this sandpaper, very important. I'm not going to use this bit because it's new. I'll use an old bit. Hold it, I don't know if you can see that. Hold it flat on a surface. Try and, with one hand, hold it flat, and then you take your tip and sand the back of it ready to glue. Then you stick it on your cue. You use a blade, like a Stanley knife, to cut the tip to the ferrule size or whatever. And then you use this stuff again. And this is a perfect sort of grade for shaping the top of the tip. So that's what this white one's for. This rough stuff is for roughing up the back of your tip and shaping your tip. Okay, I said that fine sandpaper had another use, and this is it. If you've got a brass ferrule, people tend to like it to be shiny, so sometimes it gets scratched when you do retips and stuff. So this is also, apart from being fine enough to use on the cue, on the wood without really damaging it, it's quite good for polishing ferrule, you know, so you could sort of wrap it around the top. This is a black spin ferrule, I know, but I mean, if this was a brass ferrule, you can just spin it round, spin the cue round, and you can put a nice shine on it. Also, if it's not scratched barely at all, and you just want to try and tidy it up, the #1 steel wool is good for that. You can, again, same thing, spin it round, and it should make it sort of shine up. So there you have it. I think that's everything you need, really. So, well, obviously, you need to buy the Mike Waldridge Cue Care Kit, and then you're set. Okay, right, over and out. I'm going to get on with some work. Cheers, guys.